Hello and welcome to episode 2 of the second season of Virtue and Virtuosity. And today we have something a little bit different. We have a panel session that was recorded at the Charity IT Leaders annual conference in front of an audience. In the panel, we debate how can technology leaders and people working in the CIO and CTO roles take a lead role in transforming their organization, and what are the tips for success in doing that. We have an absolutely great panel. And so rather than having a co-host or having any debate about it, I'm going to go straight over to the live recording from the conference. Thank you. Hello, everyone. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Stuart McSkimming. I've been around in charity IT leaders for quite a while. But one of the things I've been doing more recently is I've been looking at different ways to share knowledge within the charity sector, because all the people in this room, as we've said many times today already, have got a huge amount of knowledge. And what I've been trying to do is get people to share that knowledge, share great case studies of what's going on within charities, so as we can understand what's working for people and have a bit of a debate about it. So first of all, Kevin, do you want to introduce yourself? And can I just chuck you a wild card now as well? If you can throw in your most interesting achievement under the age of 16, that might give us a bit of entertainment if the job isn't interesting enough in the first place.
That was a very long time ago, 16. Kevin Adams at the Donkey Sanctuary. Interesting fact. Believe it or not, I used to play rugby, and I actually was invited to train at the Welsh camp as a young man. Never ever played for Wales, but I did enjoy rugby for a career for quite a while. So that's me.
Fantastic, Kevin. And move on to Anna next.
So I'm Anna Hoskins. I am the Head of Technology and Business Analysis at CAFOD, which is the Catholic Agency for Overseas Development. And I feel under a huge amount of pressure now in terms of an interesting fact. I think probably if I was to say what one of my biggest achievements was, I'm going to cheat very slightly and push your age limit a little bit.
That's okay.
And highlight getting through my A-level physics as the only girl in the class.
Wow. It's a round of applause. And Giri, same for you, please. Your job and any interesting facts.
Sure. Yeah. Hi. Morning all. Giri Gopalan, Head of Technology Design at Guide Dogs for the Blind. It is a trick question. Significant achievement. I'm not sure what I'm going to share is significant, but this is 30 years ago when I was 15. I gave my age up now. So. So it was on my parents' 20th anniversary, as I remember it, and I had to cook for 16 people, and kind of a volunteer to do that. We still have fond memories of that when relatives and extended family get together, and they still remember it. So mostly in a good way, yeah.
And what did you cook?
I think the main dish was vegetable biryani with a few other side dishes and But by the way, I'm a very passionate foodie. Those who know me, and yeah, I'm still into it quite a lot. Yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. And so one of my mantras throughout my career has always been, it's not about the technology, which might seem a strange thing to say. But my interesting fact from when I was under the age of 18, it was very much about the technology, and it completely plays against my it's not about the technology and plays into the fact that I am a geek at heart. So I used to really enjoy finding infinite lives pokes for computer games, and I got really good at it, and I had a whole series of them published in a magazine called Amstrad Action, which was my serious most proudest achievement. And it is out there on the internet if you ever want to Google it and want to find out how you can win at Jet Set Willy, which is a computer game for those of you who are younger in the audience. So anyway, it's not about the technology. So today's question, really, that I wanted to debate was all around taking the knowledge in this room and on this panel to talk about transformation and how we can transform our charities into the future. Something, as we talk about all of this, I want to think about in your organizations as you're listening to this, is what you can take back to your organizations, because these debates are interesting, but if they just fall flat and everyone just moves on and nothing's taken away, then there's not all the potential you can get from them. And so one of the things that I've been promoting and talking about, which could be controversial and one of the things we can debate here, is that if you're a CIO or a CTO, perhaps there might be a better name for you, which could be instead of the Chief Technology Officer or the Chief Information Officer, it could be the Chief How Officer. And the reason I'm saying this is because within organizations, we've pretty much as leaders, we've got that whole people, process, technology, maybe data mantra over and over and over again. We talk about it and we talk about it. But ultimately, that is all about the how. That is about how can your organization achieve things? How can it do things? And when you then think about that, if you're the chief how officer in an organization, you then start wondering, okay, well, just a sec. If our organization is going to get from where we are now today to something absolutely amazing in 10 years, it's on me to actually do that. It's on the people in this room to actually do that. And so we need to think about what does that future world look like and how can all the things within our remit like technology and data and digital and AI all get us towards that goal. And so that's really what our debate today is all about. How can we take ourselves from where we are now, move forward to the future and not get stuck in where we are today? My other phrase of the week, which I'm going to chuck in here, is rather than thinking today forward, thinking future back. And so it's trying to remove ourselves from the challenges of we've got a finance system that doesn't work, or we've got, problems with our network, but instead pulling ourselves out of that and thinking to the future. And so that's my introduction. And now I guess what I'm interested to hear from each of you is how does that actually feel in your organization, and how can you picture you could help your organization get to that bold future? And Kevin, you're the one who's nodding and smiling for us, and you chose to sit next to me. So to you first.
Yeah, I think these are challenges that every organization faces, and certainly ones that I've encountered over the years as well. And I think what we saw yesterday a little bit in the plenary speeches was some of the challenges that we're facing are quite significantly, almost, existential problems that we're trying to overcome. But when you've got a big problem, I'm sure everyone is aware of this, that you've got to break it down into manageable chunks of activity. Otherwise, the problem becomes too insurmountable and you can never overcome it. So when we talk about people, processes and data, it's picking those components that you can radically change and then build off those to do other things. Nobody builds a house from the top down, they build it from the bottom up. And all of these phrases are really, really easy to throw around, but actually knowing where you need to be, having that clarity of vision of what your organization could be, which is in your strategy, but then translating that into people, process and technology components, that's a real art. Science, I think some people would argue that it's science as well. But we all have those problems of the systems that's out of date and it's going to be retiring, and we've got new pressures of cybersecurity coming in and stuff. But keeping that vision clearly up there and keeping those building blocks and having the confidence to flex. And, we all can remember the pandemic. And for those that know me, I was at Cats Protection, at the animal charity before joining here. We couldn't do what we were meant to do. What our purpose was to rehome and house and look after animals that were being passed up as part of the problems that came with the pandemic. So we completely redesigned the process and we created what we called the hands-free homing, because we were a homing charity, we were a rescue and homing charity, but we couldn't do that. We used technology to allow us to do that. So before we used to go into people's homes, for example, and assess their suitability in terms of being able to take a cat into their care. We had to do that through Teams. But because we were forced to do it, we actually adopted technology a lot faster than if I'd have gone and said, hey, we can do this much more effectively and much more efficiently. Consequently, what you get through that transformation, and we redesigned the whole process from start to finish, technology was very much at the heart of it. Then we were getting the data that's saying, actually, this is more successful than our traditional methodologies. And then the compelling arguments that says, well, why can't we do that in other aspects of our charity? So finding those use cases, those critical building blocks, for me, has been one of those things that overcomes the big picture problem that people can get into this stagnation. How do I get there? Well, pick one thing that you can really demonstrate the value of, and as in the phrase is, build it and they will come.
I absolutely love that, because it is very much within the technology world, we're very good at breaking problems down and solving them. And so you said getting radical change at the building block level, and that's how you get radical change overall. Anna, I'm going to move to you. Did any of that chime with you in your experience at CAFOD, or just more generally in your thoughts?
Yes, definitely. I completely agree with your thinking in terms of chief how officer. Obviously, from my job title, we're kind of combining technology and business analysis. But I tend to be somebody who wears a lot of hats. We were talking earlier about business relationship management, business analysis. We've talked about project management. We've talked about transformation. We've talked about change management. And actually, all of these things need to come together. But if I look at my identity, if you like, within the organization, if you were to ask people, well, what does Anna actually do? I am the person who people come to understand, how does the organization actually work? How does the technology fit in? What should we be doing to change things going forwards in order to meet that strategy? And a lot of it does come down to those relationships. And in order to understand where it is that we're trying to get to and understand what that vision looks like, a lot of those kind of nuggets of ideas come from some of the conversations that you have. They come from those relationships outside of what might be written in the immediate strategy paper. When you're looking for that long-term vision, some of what you have to really think about is thinking about the impossible. And where I think it's really important to focus is to understand in your current organizational model why you've ended up where you are, as well as where you want to get to, because that will help you understand which of the organizational problems you want to address, but you haven't been able to so far. And that's where, when you see new technologies coming on board, those are then the questions that you can be asking yourself is, does this now fix one of those problems that we had before? Does this unlock something? So, for example, one of the things that we look at a lot is our relationship with our partners in terms of delivery overseas. And one of the barriers that we've always had has been almost a siloed approach within organizations. So we talk a lot about silos within an organization and breaking through those silos. But the real game changer is how we break down the silos between organizations. And you've always been constrained in the past by your own infrastructure, your own boundaries that you're putting around your own organization in terms of how you can collaborate. And then kind of the next step is, we'll create a portal. This is how you can engage with us. But actually, if you look at what's happening now and the availability of cloud technologies, the integration technologies, we've got all sorts of bits and pieces that are coming on board. Actually, some of those boundaries that we've created for ourselves in terms of who we are as an organization and who our partners are as an organization are starting to come down. And you can only understand that by knowing that was something that you really wanted to do in the first place, but were never able to because you were constrained by those boundaries. And then that really helps you spot then when there's a good opportunity there to start thinking about, well, we could reshape this in a completely different way.
I love what you're saying about relationships throughout that, because one of the things, if you move back 20 years when we all had our on-premise systems, things in our server rooms, it was much harder to collaborate. Whereas now, of course, as you just said about the cloud systems that we use and the way that we're having our processes more and more aligned between organizations, those relationships between organizations become much more important because there is that ability to share, which it just didn't exist. And Giri, I'm going to get to you now. You've waited very patiently there whilst we've been chatting. Giri, have you found anything from guide dogs, or is there anything that Anna or Kev has said there that's really been interesting for you?
I think, there have been some good points that both Kevin and Anna made, and it resonates with me as well. I think for me, it's about, we, as charities, we need to ensure that there is clarity of purpose, One of the things I can give as an example, last year in the SLT senior leadership team event, we did a bit of a role play. What I mean by that is basically going back to your point, Stuart, what does the future look like? So we asked the director of operations, say, okay, how would you see the relationship with our service users be? So we had two people talk about, one is a service user, one is a volunteer. So what will their experience be like? So it's as if the volunteer from the future is talking about their experience with guide dogs in a positive way. So I think that visioning is important first, and then once that visioning is there, then it's about going back to your people, process, technology, data. That it all kind of should hang together to make that vision happen. So it's then you're always asking the so what question. Okay, so we're doing all of these things. So what is what purpose is it solving basically, and how are we actually solving these problems? And again, yes, we are guide dogs. The dogs are the core part of what we do, but also we have to be kind of open to the technology advancements that are happening. So recently we've been looking at something called bipeds, where it's a wearable tech which can do very similar things as guiding someone to the last 5 meters, and it helps you navigate through barriers and things like that. It could be game changing for an organization such as ourselves. It won't replace a dog service, but it's something what we're looking at is how can we augment what we are already doing through the dogs, but then provide additional services. I think that's where, so the purpose is really important. The purpose is about, yes, providing mobility, that helping people choose the lives they want with their vision impairment. But what are all the different things that we can actually do to help that? And also we have to be conscious of not stepping into other territories where when somebody else is already doing a great job, not reinvent the wheel and then do the same thing ourselves. So we kind of learn from other charities as well where we can, and then help them. So I think so it's important to have that clarity of vision and purpose, and make sure that the organization is all kind of lined up to kind of execute that vision.
And I think you talked about clarity of purpose there, which I think is really important so people can understand you. But you also talked about thinking forward to where the people you're trying to help, your customers, your beneficiaries, thinking where they want to be in 10 years from now, not necessarily where the organization wants to be, where they want to be. Now, I'm just going to, I'm aware that we only had a very short slot here, and I want to bring in questions from the audience as well, because this was meant to be an interactive session. Has anything we said there really chimed with people in their organizations, or are people thinking perhaps it's all nonsense we're talking here, and they should they can kick us off, swap someone onto the panel? Yeah, I can see someone over.
Hi. So I'm Jim, the Deputy Director of Technology at NDCS. So I think the bit that resonated for me in that was the purpose point. So one of the things to the point around operating models that we found was when we were talking about our digital strategies, like the C-suite didn't get behind it because they felt we were competing, not enabling, and changing the terminology and kind of going, this enables that purpose, that shared purpose to happen, unlocked doors that would have been shut for a long time otherwise. So I just took away that was a really valid point around shared purpose and vision together. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And again, enablers, and that's about the how. That's really telling people it's about how can we enable with technology. Is there anyone else? Yeah, Martin.
Thank you. 3 questions.
Oh, 3. Okay.
Very quick ones.
Okay.
What is digital? What is technology? What is transformation?
Now, luckily, I'm the panel host here, so I can say to my panel. Anyone do you want to take one each? Bad luck, Giri.
Should we go with
Giri, you start first this time.
I'll go with transformation because it's something that we are undergoing at the moment. I think transformation is, by the very word, it's about changing, transforming. I think, but again, going back to the point I made about purpose, what are we transforming? Why are we transforming? And we need to understand what the end goal is and end state is. It could be for lots of various reasons. Like, it could be maybe a lot of charities, as we all know, going through some financial difficulties, tough times. So it could be about cost savings, or it could be about improving services. But it's very, very important to understand the narrative behind what is being changed and why we're changing it. So everyone in the organization understands. And I think, and we have to set objectives for the transformation and just constantly check and make sure whether we are on track. We are not deviating from the original goals set out, because sometimes what I've seen happen is transformation program starts, and then things move sideways, and the original purpose and the goal is not. So it's completely different to what it was started. And even financial savings, for example, it's not, you kind of go through restructuring and things like that. Then the end state is an organization which is completely different to what it was. But then the question is, has it solved the problem that you set out to solve? Because if it's not, then your transformation program has failed. So I think that clarity it should always be checked, cross-checked, verified. And the important thing is the staff and everyone in the organization, no matter who, will need to be kind of clear of that. Because otherwise, if it's just a senior leadership transformation vision, but nobody else buys into it, then it's kind of not a successful transformation activity. Is my take on it.
I'm going to give the definitions a go, but I'm just going to very quickly say that I think that it's important, kind of as a chief how officer, that what you do within your organisation is that you create an environment where it doesn't actually matter for the rest of the organisation that they need to understand. So similarly, between, people don't often understand the difference between a data analyst, a systems analyst, a business analyst, and actually you need to just say, look, it doesn't matter, just speak to us. And then it's up to us to make sure that we understand the actual technicalities for how we then make the change happen.
Thank you, Anna. Okay, it's okay, Kevin. I'm not going to put you through this unless you want to. No, you don't.
I'm going there.
And similarly, I'm not going to go back out to the audience now to see if anyone else has any awkward questions. So I guess what I'd like to do then, in the last couple of minutes, then, is it would be just really interesting to hear from you, just in 30 seconds from each of you, what you see is the simple key thing that will unlock that ability for your organization to drag itself out of today and get to tomorrow quickly and not get pulled back by all of the things that you have on your backlog of problems that you're trying to prioritize, and you're just stuck looking at these things you're trying to prioritize and can't see over the hedge into the distance. 30 seconds each on what you think might help you get your organization there, and whoever wants to buzz in first with an answer can.
I don't mind going first so that nobody else steals my answer. My number one thing would be building understanding. So building understanding of your operating model, how your organization works, how, where you're trying to get to, then to build understanding of the technology, to share the knowledge of the technology, just to generally have everybody share as much information and knowledge as widely as they possibly can, is what's going to help set everybody up, because you'll have a greater depth of understanding. You won't have the kind of silos of knowledge, misunderstandings, things that happen when often projects go off the rails are because of those misunderstandings, not quite understanding what somebody needs, not quite understanding the requirement, not empathizing with each other. So the more we understand about what each other's goals are, what we're trying to achieve, and what we've got to deliver that, the better.
Okay, great. Anna?
I'll quickly go next. I think it's as much as that, but also that clarity of purpose. Why are you doing what you're doing, and why do you want to be different? And getting that message understood, not just simply at the C-suite, because quite often, hysterically, we get it, we understand it, but actually what does it mean for the people at the coalface? And when you're saying to them that actually perhaps what you do today is going to be different in the future, understand and explain why that has to happen. A lot of people are going through that transformation. People are moving away from rescue to preventative. So that's fundamentally a different operating model for your organization. But if you're in that rescue mode and you're having the message that we want you to be a preventative agent, everything you've done over years and years and years suddenly has to transform. And that takes time, because we're talking about people. So when we talk about transformation, we have to understand that actually transformation is delivered through people, and people take time to go through that adjustment. So don't underestimate that as well.
Okay, fantastic, Giri.
Some really great points there from Kevin and Anna. Just to build up on that, I think one of the biggest challenges I see in my role, as well as generally within the charity sector, is kind of how do we work at speed and efficiency, basically. And I say this because technology advancements are at such a high pace It's really hard to keep up, but there is so much opportunity out there as well. So one of the things I always I kind of like with the CITL group is about how much we can share, how much we can learn from each other. And I think it's that bit basically how we can constantly push ourselves and then make sure that we kind of have to make every effort to kind of reduce the red tape, yes, processes are important, but it should not come as the cost of a speed of execution. And it's kind of because there is so much out there which we can actually leverage and utilize, but also how can we do that efficiently, quickly, and maximize the benefits in projects that don't take many years to execute, just to put it shortly.
Thank you, Giri. Wow, what a load of experience we've got here. So we had understand your organization and your operating model, keep it simple, and work out how to move at speed. So there's your takeaways. If you can get your organization to focus on those things, that's a way to actually move ahead. And what I loved about all of that at the end is it's not about the technology. It's about simplifying stuff, trying to make it so as your organization, everyone across the whole organization can understand where it is you're going and how you're all going to get there. And that's a great way to summarize the keys to success. So thank you very much, Giri, Anna, and Kevin. It's been fantastic having you on my panel today.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.